All of us struggle with our sleep. Taking help at the right time,
Save you from a lot of this. It's like a stitch in time saves nine. This is a silent killer.
one sleep myth.
Snoring is a sign of good sleep. People should just really understand how dangerous snoring can be if untreated.
Welcome, Doctor, on RAWR with Sneha. We have Dr. Seemab Shaikh with us. Today's podcast, the intention is that we make sleep our superpower.
You slept 10 hours at night and you had a decent sleep according to you, but you wake up not fresh. So if you have to really drag yourself out of bed and pep yourself up and do things, it obviously means that
What price does one have to pay for one late night sleep?
Bhopal rash tragedy, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, sooner or later was proved to be an operator who was sleep deprived. Even Hitler's time, one of the biggest torture mechanism was to not let the person sleep. There is a cycle of sleep which starts at stage 1, goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, then comes back up again. 90 minutes is one cycle and 6 such cycles. Now, anytime any one cycle is broken,
And I'm actually having a lot of issue with sleep. Do you recommend sleeping pills to people?
sleeping pills, no. You could use things like
70% of couples in India are in a sleep divorce.
one of the most commonest reasons for sleep divorce is snoring. We say that your bedroom should only be used for sleep and sex.
Hey you, welcome on RAWR with Sneha. I am your host Sneha Desai and welcome again to one more life transforming episode. So I have been observing that a lot of you have been watching our episodes and yet haven't subscribed to the channel yet. So it's a humble request to go hit that subscribe button. Being a part of RAWR community means you're ready to expand your mind, heal your heart, and evolve into your highest self. In today's episode, we are going to be talking to Dr. Seemab Shaikh. He's a renowned ENT specialist and a pioneer in spreading awareness about snoring, sleep apnea, and sleeping disorders. In today's times, falling asleep in no time is actually a superpower. And who knew, with the kind of life that we live, sleeping would require so much effort. We are going to be talking about fixing your sleep cycle, breaking some myths about sleep, and throwing light on one of the most crucial aspects of sleep, that is snoring. I'm sure we all know somebody who suffers with snoring in our family. And if you think that this is normal, well, then you gotta watch this episode till the end. So, this is a masterclass on sleep. Let's roar. Welcome, Doctor, on RAWR with Sneha.
Thank you, Sneha, for having me here. It's lovely to be here.
Yes. So we have Dr. Seemab Shaikh with us out here. You are an ENT specialist.
Yes.
And you are also the founder of the National Body of Sleep Apnea, right?
Yeah, the surgeons for sleep apnea. People who deal with sleep apnea, I was founder, national president for that body.
Yes, and I have been hearing currently that there has been a rise in sleeping disorders in general. I mean, all of us struggle with our sleep. And, today's podcast, the intention is that we make sleep our superpower somewhere or the other.
Lovely. I think that is the need of the hour.
Yes.
That is the need of the hour.
Yes, and kahin na kahin, we give so much importance to our diet, workout kar lete hai. And I think sleep is such a beautiful tool that we all are gifted with, but yet we don't use it in the right way, somewhere or the other.
So that's, well put, Sneha, because, sleep disorders are not just on the rise per se. There's also a lot of awareness amongst people about sleep issues, which once upon a time was not there. So if you want to look at the rise, there is obviously an actual rise in the number of cases that we are dealing with. And that rise can also be attributed to the fact that a lot of people are very aware about sleep and how it kind of messes up their entire systems, all systems of the body, as well as what we in medicine use a quotient called a quality of life, QOL. So sleep related issues and sleep disorders actually mess up your quality of life, and that's why things have really taken off in the terms of understanding of the disease.
What price does one have to pay for one late night sleep? So, say I'm sleeping at 3 o'clock at that one night instead of 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock for that matter. In fact, even earlier, they say 10 o'clock. What is happening to me out there? Does it really cost me something?
Now, this is like that chutki bhar sindoor ki कीमत क्या है बाबू. So, it. I wouldn't say, of course, it is costing you, but a one night disturbance here and there may not actually bother you that much because you might recover from the damage that may have happened in that night before. But when this happens recurrently, when it happens chronically over a period of time, days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, that's when you start paying the price. Because you have to understand something, sleep is needed for body repair, basically. And if you don't get an adequate time, I'm being very layman about it, I'm not getting into technical medical terms, but if you do not get that time to repair your body, then somewhere every system in your body is going to get affected. And to give you a perspective, there are about 72 types of sleep disorders. Okay, there are so many. The most common and the most dangerous ones is what we call as obstructive sleep apnea that we deal with. So it's basically obstruction that causes a fall in the oxygen supply when you're sleeping. Okay. So now to put it in a very simple manner, just imagine yourself not getting enough oxygen with every breath that you're taking. So let's say you're supposed to get 100% oxygen supply and you're getting it only at 80%. And that's happening breath after breath after breath after breath while you're sleeping, not just one night, night after night, weeks after weeks, months after months. That's where the damage. So there is a very what we call as a chronic deprivation of oxygen supply.
How do I know that I'm actually getting the right amount of oxygen?
So you won't really know. There are ways to test it. But one of the most commonest way for you to figure that out is when you wake up in the morning.
Okay.
So let's say you slept 10 hours at night and you had a decent sleep according to you, but you wake up not fresh. So if you have to really drag yourself out of bed and pep yourself up and do things, it obviously means that your brain has probably not got the necessary oxygen supply that it needs for refreshment.
So basically, that's the basic parameter that anybody can check. That if I'm getting up tired, as you said, that means I'm not getting enough oxygen.
That is like one of the most characteristic signs to tell you that, okay, something's wrong with your sleep. It could be anything, but the minute somebody tells me, so one of my first questions when I ask somebody who approaches and after they finish telling me is that how are you feeling in the morning when you wake up? That's a straightforward giveaway. So look at it this way. Let me put it across to you in a different manner. You have a 5 a.m. flight to catch. You go to sleep and you put a alarm for somewhere around 3:15, whatever. When you wake up with that alarm, don't you get up with a headache?
Yeah.
Because somewhere your sleep cycle has gotten disturbed. And that's where, so again, there is a lot of detail in that, and I'll try and keep it very simple for understanding. You have to have something like there is a cycle of sleep which starts at stage 1, goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, then comes back up again. Right?
Okay.
So this is a complete cycle.
So it starts from the top, then goes deeper,
Deeper.
and then you again come back.
Correct. So the deepest is stage 4 sleep. That's where the dreaming and the rapid eye movements actually come in. So dreams in a way are good. That means you hit that stage and come up. And you have to have at least 6 such cycles in the night.
Six such cycles.
That's the most recommended. So
you actually go through a dip, you again come back, again you go through a dip.
yes.
That's
And
how
it's
6
a
cycles.
90-minute is one cycle and 6 such cycles. So this roughly about 8.5 to 9 hours of proper sleep is required. Now, anytime any one cycle is broken in between, for whatever reason, maybe you got up to go to the washroom or you got up for any other reason, that cycle is disrupted and it's lost. The beneficial effects of that cycle are not there.
So ideally, you shouldn't be waking up.
Ideally, yes.
Entire
It should
night.
be like a one. That's the reason why so many things are told to you, right? About how you should sleep, where you should sleep, when you should sleep, how you, what all are the things that you should do's and don'ts before. There are a lot of those things that we have to actually imbibe into people. It's like brushing your teeth twice a day. You have to also follow certain things, norms and things for sleep. So if you're going to sit and have a strong cup of double cappuccino at 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening, you are going to disrupt your sleep cycle. So that's a definite no-no. Right? So in fact, we go ahead and actually tell people very strongly that post 3 p.m., there should be no intake of stimulants.
Okay.
Ideally, this is like the most ideal scenario.
But so many people, like, they say that even if I have a cup of coffee at say रात को 9 बजे और मैं I fall asleep, like I don't have any issues with sleeping for that matter of
There
fact.
will be always exceptions to some rule, but we've not really looked into the study of their sleep patterns because they think they sleep well. We don't really know whether the quality of the sleep has been good.
Okay.
And unless that gets evaluated, we can't comment on these kind of people.
What is more important, the quality of sleep or the quantity of sleep, somewhere or the other?
Actually, both, because if you don't have that much quantity, then you're not going to get through all those
The
cycles.
cycles. Yeah.
And then your quality of sleep will be affected.
And so ideally, how many hours did you say?
8 to 9 hours at least.
8 to 9
So
hours.
it changes, like an infant sleeps a lot more. As you grow into your teens and this, your requirement becomes lesser. As you grow older, again, the requirements change. So it's not like a standard, patthar ki lakir types. But yes, the requirement is needed as you're growing, as they are into teens and things like that. They need the body for that physiological repair. So they need to sleep more. And that's why, if you remember, I don't know if you know this, there's been a huge movement lately about a lot of people trying to push for government legislation to start schools after 9 p.m. Have you heard of this?
No.
This has been happening. People are realizing that waking up at 7 a.m. in the morning and then the child has to get up at 6 and things like that affects their cycle of sleep. Especially in today's world, the way they are active at night with all the gadgets and stuff, their sleep patterns are changing. So there is a certain section of society globally that is pushing for delaying the start of school.
Got it.
I don't know if it'll really work or not, but they are doing
But
that.
that's a good movement. I mean, if something
is a
like
good
that
movement.
happens, why
Yeah.
not?
But there are lots of things to it with legislation. There are lots of things that come. You have to prove this. You have to actually get statistical studies and data out there to be able to convince the administration. And there is one which is a government legislation and one would be private schools. So each one would take their own calls.
You said 8 to 9 hours sleep, for example. Would you recommend that you should sleep earlier, or say even if I hit the bed at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, if I finish my 8 hours of sleep, say I get up at 10 o'clock in the morning or I've done my 8 hours, does that also work?
That works. That works. But then you have to make sure you do that on a regular basis. So you can't be sleeping at 12 midnight one night and 10 p.m. the other night and 11 p.m. some other night and then finishing. So that's why when we give you advice about sleep, we always say sleep at a particular time, wake up at a particular time. Get your body to get adapted to that routine.
हाँ, मतलब एक time fix करो.
Exactly.
And then
That's why we say, go to bed at this time, wake up at this time. That's the normal thing for all, with all this fitness stuff that's also going on. All of them also tell you the same thing. There is a logic behind that. So your timing, your body has to get used. The circadian rhythm has to be proper.
Okay.
So there is a rhythm to the body, which is very badly affected for many professions that deal with entertainment, late nights and stuff, the airline industry,
Yeah.
the food industry, they're sitting up till late. Their circadian rhythm gets affected.
Yeah, so I'll get to that. Before that, when we were talking about, so you would recommend that even if, say, you are sleeping every day at 12, you just fix that time and make sure you complete those 8 hours of sleep.
Absolutely.
So even that works wonders for your
That
body,
works fine.
somewhere or the other. I was reading somewhere that women require more sleep than men. Is that really true?
To a certain extent, yes, it's a hormonal thing. So if you know this, what happens is most of these disorders in women start up after their menopause, because that's when the hormonal protective effects go away. So they have a certain need which is a little higher from the male perspective.
So women can go and sleep a little more extra, maybe.
It's easier said than done because they are the ones who are maximally sleep deprived, is what our society is all about.
Okay. There was also one interesting study where I read that, our sleep and memory is interrelated, is correlated somewhere or the other.
Of course.
And there was an experiment done where there were two groups of people, and one was given 6 hours of sleep and one was given 8 hours of sleep. And the people who were given 6 hours couldn't really learn fast, or they couldn't grasp things, and they couldn't even produce the results that they wanted to. On the other hand, people who got 8 hours of sleep were way better in productivity.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no question of there not being a correlation. I don't know about this particular study because there, it has to be very scientific for us to do it. But it's an age-old thing that memory and this. So let me tell you a very interesting scientific study. So there was a group of people that was kept sleep deprived for 36 hours, and there was a group that was given excessive alcohol and made drunk. Okay, and both these groups were then put on steering wheel simulators for driving, and the results were exactly the same. Meaning, sleep deprivation is as bad as being heavily drunk.
Oh my
And
God.
that is the reason abroad they do not issue driving licenses to people who are sleep apneics or who suffer from sleep issues. So there are definitely issues with memory and sleep. It's a known thing. And even if you remember time immemorial, even Hitler's time, the one of the biggest torture mechanism was to not let the person sleep.
Yeah. Because you actually start losing your
Everything.
senses somewhere or the other, your cognitive ability, as you said, and you cannot.
So cognitive ability is the right word that you've used. I mean, I don't know if the viewers would understand point, but cognitive ability or cognitive disability, neurocognitive disability is one of the biggest dangers of untreated and undiagnosed. I use the word untreated because if it's treated, everything is fine. If it's picked up in time and treated, everything is fine. But otherwise, you lose all your neurocognitive abilities slowly, slowly.
And that's why I think they also say that we'll see a rise in number of people having Alzheimer's or dementia
Absolutely.
because of less sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you can
It's
have memory fog, or you can start forgetting small things, and that's the first sign where
absolutely.
you are not getting enough sleep.
It's not just that, also there's a lot of psychological disorders that come in with the kind of personality changes.
Like
So
what?
just think of it for yourself. If you've not slept for like 2 or 3 nights well, how irritable are you?
Yeah. I feel like a zombie even if I've not
Exactly.
slept for one night.
Exactly. So that's where there's a lot of interpersonal relationship discord also that starts setting in with these kind of issues. So if you're like chronically sleep deprived, it affects your work performance, it affects your interpersonal relationships, especially a marriage and things like that.
Okay.
You'll be surprised there is a lot of marriage counselors now who are well aware of this, and they pick this up very fast, and they kind of actually send them across to us to get this thing sorted out.
We just spoke about sleep divorce, right?
Yes.
Like before the podcast started. And I was just telling you that 70% of couples in India are in a sleep divorce. So basically, they are in a marriage, but they sleep separately.
Correct.
Why is this happening?
Some of this is a very conscious effort because I see a lot. I mean, this may be 70% in what you're saying. My practice, because it's a very niche practice and I deal with this kind of stuff, I would say almost 85 to 90% of the people that I see, the couples that I see, are sleeping separate. They are pretty much working couples. Each one needs to focus on their performance and their work, and they cannot be disturbed by the other person's sleep disorder, majorly snoring that they have, but even otherwise. So a lot of them prefer to sleep separately, and it is like taken for normalcy nowadays.
Do you think it is a good practice to actually sleep divorce?
No, it's absolutely not a good practice considering the way our society is built and considering the fact that you are meant to be as a couple together, right? But when things start affecting your day to day work and your performance, and life is all based around your jobs, are based around your work performance, then people have to find a via media out. Either they come ahead and get treated and sort it out, or then at least till they get treated, they have to resort to these kind of arrangements that they have.
So the major issue that you're saying that sleep divorces are happening is snoring somewhere or the other.
Yes, because that directly disturbs the partner's sleep. No? Like I said, there are many different kind of sleep disorders. So there are certain disorders in which the person actually is sleepwalking, sleep talking, all that kind also disturbs. But I think that incidence is much lower.
Do you need to treat somebody who's also like sleep talking?
Of course, it's not normal, right?
Okay.
It is definitely not normal. That's why, and that, like I said, the incidence is lesser. The highest incidence for that is snoring. One of the most commonest reasons for sleep divorce is snoring.
There are days when you just happen to snore, okay, like because you're tired or something like that. When should you start taking snoring as like a red flag? Like you need to go and see the doctor.
See, the very word snoring itself is a red flag. So, understand what is snoring. So, let's say you have a tube and you're blowing air through it. It's not going to make sound. But if you have something blocking that tube and you're blowing it, it is going to make a fluttering sound. Right? So, this is all about the air passage. If you have an air passage which has got some kind of a blockage, which is, soft tissue, anything, then that fluttering is going to happen. So, the minute a person says snoring, it indicates that there is a blockage somewhere in that air passage.
So you cannot be snoring even a single night. Like
No,
even if you're
ideally,
tired.
no. But again, so I was coming to that. What happens is, if you're snoring occasionally, so we know that post alcohol everybody will snore because the muscles start collapsing and the airway gets compromised. So if it's that occasional snoring, is fair enough. I mean, if it's happening maybe once a week or something like that, and it's not a regular basis, like you said, when you're very tired and you're exhausted and the muscles are completely relaxed, then it's fine. Then I don't think you need to worry so much. You keep a watch on it. But if you're a regular snorer, if you're a snorer on a day-to-day basis, or at least, and then again, in science, we have gradations of snoring.
Okay.
So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4
Levels of snoring.
levels of snoring. And a level 4 snoring is what we call as heroic snoring. So heroic snoring is you're in a closed room, closed doors, closed windows, and somebody can hear you snoring outside the room. That is really heroic snoring, as we call it. So things like this, definitely you need to look into it. You can't overlook these things. But the occasional snorer here and there, occasional after alcohol, maybe you're extremely tired after a function, marriage functions lasting few days, and things like that. Travel.
And this snoring is actually called sleep apnea.
No, snoring is a sign of sleep apnea.
Okay, this
Sleep apnea. So apnea basically means stopping of breathing, cessation of breathing where there's an oxygen fault. That's what the word apnea means. So sleep apnea is the basic disease. It is of two different kinds. So one is the obstructive sleep apnea, which is happening because you're having some obstruction somewhere in sleep causing the apnea. And there is something called as a central apnea. So somewhere over a period of time, like I said, the brain signals are getting affected, the brain is not functioning very well, or there is some neurological disorder which prevents the signals from the brain coming down to tell the patient to breathe. So they have a pause in their breathing. And then that's called central sleep apnea. Right? So
and that
these
could be dangerous.
Yes, both are equally
Both
dangerous.
are, yeah,
Both are
exactly.
equally dangerous. That's why we try to differentiate between the two.
Okay.
And as an ENT surgeon, so your first statement where you asked that primarily I'm an ENT surgeon.
Yeah.
But over a period of 2 decades, when I've gotten into this field, realizing the fact that who better than an ENT surgeon to deal with the upper airway? We are the people who deal with the upper airway.
Yeah.
So that's where the interest built up 2 decades back, and we've reached where we are today.
Wow. And how would you say, like, so if somebody is actually having this issue of snoring, um, there are any ways at home that they can stop this, or you need to take some medication, they need to see a doctor? Where does it start? How do you repair it basically?
Ideally, you need to see somebody at that time, somebody who specializes in snoring and sleep apnea, not just a routine run of the mill person, because then the awareness may not be so much. To try to stop it at home is not so easy. Unless, of course, you've got like a cold with a blocked nose and things like that, and you're snoring, then it's okay. You can
That's a
work
different
around
thing.
it.
Yeah,
That's a
basically,
totally
yeah.
different thing. And there is, unless you find out the cause of the snoring and how bad is it for you, how dangerous is it for you, then you can't really treat it. It's not something which is medically, like limited medications only related to allergy and cold. Otherwise, if you have a physical block somewhere, you've got to deal with that.
So
But
then you get into surgery.
no, so let me make that very clear on record. So this is the biggest problem in our mindsets. that, okay, what if something is there, then I will need surgery, then why get into it? Let's not get into it. No. See, science has progressed leaps and bounds. Okay. We have a huge uh, kind of array of treatment available for sleep apnea. Multiple things are available. It all depends on your causative factor. What is causing your sleep apnea, and then accordingly. So, surgery is just one option. It is not the option which people worry about. There are lots of other things that we can do. There are devices that we can use. There are ways to mechanically push in air. There are other things that you can use. But medicine per se has a less role to play. But for if you want to stand out a very strong, simple message, if I have to say this, sleep apnea has a lot of things that you can treat it with. Surgery for anybody, for any science, surgery is always the last option. It's never a first option, right? It's for any human being. Nobody wants to get operated. Nobody would want to get, operate if we have better options which are non-surgical. So, any person thinking that way should first stop thinking that way. They should look at it from the point of view that these are the red flags, there are signals that something's wrong with my body. I need to check into it, and then I will go ahead and find out how I can treat it. Because when people get worried about surgery, they don't approach for treatment. And I think what we, as or rather the general population, needs to understand is I can't catch you by the neck and get you onto the operation table, right? So you're going to be told about things. You have to take a conscious decision. It's not an emergency where I will be taking a decision for you. So that's the wrong approach to take when you come. Sleep apnea is very easily treatable in today's date.
Yeah, what you said right now is so true because I think people in India in general they have this ki itni choti si baat. Like for example, ki ha snore. I'm just snoring at night, so let's just overlook that whole factor. And why should I go and see a doctor for this somewhere or the other? And I mean, as you just said that. Also, one more question that I have right now before is that does your weight actually have a correlation with snoring?
100%. 100%. I mean, there's no question about that. But see, weight is one of the major significant factors. It's not the only factor.
But it
Well,
does.
it does. It does. So, one of the first things that we also do is stress a lot on weight management. So, if we have an overweight patient or if we have a person who's obese, right? So, we definitely stress a lot on weight management and weight reduction because there's a lot of fat that gets accumulated around your airway.
And that's how you end up snoring.
You'll have a collapse of the airway. So that, and when we deal with this kind of an overweight, we are looking at the patient holistically, but we are not really bothered so much about the abdominal obesity. We are more worried about the neck obesity at that
Okay.
time.
So if you
But
have fat around this area, you
that's
are going to end
yes.
up snoring.
In fact, there is a specific collar size that has to be there. Anything beyond that, anyway, that's very technical. The fact of the matter is, we don't see. You can't isolatedly remove fat from your neck. You have to have an overall body reduction.
Exactly. You are going to lose fat.
So that's why it's very important. But not to say that it is the only factor, because you could have some physical obstructions which are not related to fat.
Yeah, but what are the factors? Because I've seen this a lot that overweight people or obese people suffer with snoring as an issue.
But not to say that thin people don't. Huh? Thin people also suffer.
Of course, 100%. Yeah.
But I would agree with you completely. Huh? Weight reduction is a primary kind of a counseling that we do. Of course, it's an ongoing process. It won't happen in like 15 days or 1 month. Weight reduction itself takes 5-6 months.
Okay. Okay, getting back to sleep apnea, the one question that I had is like, so yeah, you said that you sort of don't take in oxygen. Like there's a period when you're sleeping, and in sleep apnea, it kind of blocks you and you cannot breathe at that moment. Okay. You also said that snoring is one of the symptoms. Okay. What other symptoms can one look out for if they want to know if they have sleep apnea?
Yeah. So the first thing, like I said in the beginning, if you're not fresh in the morning, that is one of your biggest giveaways, right? So not fresh in the morning, snoring, your inability to concentrate on work. So indirectly, your work performance is going to reduce. This kind of short temper and irritability that comes in, short term memory lapses. I forgot my keys here, there. For younger individuals, I'm not talking about for the older one. These are all indicative of the fact that your neurocognition is getting affected. And of course, because of the mental irritability and all, there are interpersonal issues. One of the other bigger things is libido. In the scenario of interpersonal relationships, the lack of libido is also one of the direct effects.
So it does
So
affect your sex life.
it definitely does. So one is sleep divorce also affects your sex life. And at the same time, when your libido goes down as one of the major symptoms, then it is going to affect a lot of things.
Okay. And how?
So in our circles, it's a way of putting it across. When we talk about sleep, we say that your bedroom should only be used for sleep and sex, not for anything else, not the TV watching, not the, reading books, being on your laptops and things like that.
I was
So
just going to ask you that, coming to the next part, of course, now that we've understood so many disorders related to sleep somewhere or the other, um, before getting into sleep hygiene and what you were going to tell us, that how should one actually prepare for their sleep somewhere or the other, what do you think that does our sleep also have an effect on our cardiovascular health?
Yes. So two of the major disorders or two of the major dangers of untreated sleep apnea are related to stroke in the brain, the neurological issues, and cardiac arrest. So when you hear of people passing away in their sleep, we tend to take it very naturally. Oh, he passed away in his sleep. He was very peaceful. There's no such thing as a peaceful passing away as such, right? Something has precipitated his heart attack, because until the heart stops, you don't pass away. So when you have a prolonged break in your oxygen supply, that's what precipitates the thing. And that could be, one of this, of course. It could be in a normal heart, it could be in an already diseased heart. But cardiovascular and neurological complications are the most dreaded consequences of an untreated sleep disorder, because these are not reversible.
Yeah.
So once you have a heart attack, you're stuck with it for life. Once you develop, let's say, hypertension, you're stuck with it for life. You can get it under control, but you're stuck with it. Whereas the neurocognitive part before the stroke, where your brain is like deprived of sleep, deprived of oxygen, that is reversible.
Oh, so you can repair.
The neurocognitive part is the time when you can best catch it and reverse a lot of things in sleep apnea. Once you cross that line, I'm not saying that it's not treatable, right? But you've already suffered the complication. And then at that time, you can't say to your cardiologist or your neuro physician or surgeon that, okay, now I'm going to go back and treat my sleep apnea and come to you, because you have already suffered the heart attack. You've got to be on those lifelong medications. You must have had your angioplasty or your bypass or whatever is needed is needed.
Okay.
So before you reach that stage is when it is the best time to catch it, diagnose it, be aware how to catch it. Like I said, these symptoms.
How can one catch it actually?
The symptoms that we spoke about, yeah, these should be a big eye opener for you. And they see, not everything may be dangerous, okay, but your awareness will at least lead you to the diagnosis.
And you can actually detect it at a very earlier
Very early
stage.
very early.
Then there are, as you said, there are remedies to it. There are devices for it.
Of course,
There is medication. I mean, there are multiple ways.
there are multiple avenues to it. And once you find out you have it and you know the severity, then that's what decides the urgency of treatment. But it's like you can't be an ostrich and hide your this by not knowing about it. So at least you should get yourself tested by the right people, because the awareness is, that way a little less.
Your sleep can actually affect so many things, like literally from your heart health to your hormone health, as you just said, to your cognitive ability.
I'll give you a very startling fact. Okay. We all know that we all hear a lot about diabetes, we all hear a lot about HIV when it was there and things like that, and we have rallies for awareness and things like that. If you look at it here and there, the incidence figures are in the range of 18 to 20%, 22%. The incidence of sleep apnea, and I'm talking about in India alone, I'm not talking about the world right now, There is a big study that has come out from a very reputed institute, the All India Institute, AIMS in Bhopal, which has pegged the percentage of sleep apnea to 34% and above.
Oh my God.
34%. I'm talking Indian statistics. So you can imagine that if you're in a room with 3 or 4 of us, one is definitely a sleep apnea.
Oh my God. And there's not much awareness about it.
It has become a lot better, I would say, in this past decade. We've done our bit, even from our association, and we've done our bit. Now people are actually approaching for treatment to this disorder, which was not so once upon a time, because people would think that, like you just rightly said, oh, it's snoring hai, kaun si badi baat hai. Ek do din hota hai, it's okay. And earlier people would not even resort to a separate room sleeping. They would just, so if you see the olden times, people just accepted it as a normal thing and said, it's okay. I have to live with it. I have to sleep with it. The partner would just say, okay, he snores, what to do?
Yeah, because I think it's not something that is very painful, to be very honest. When do you go to a doctor?
Yeah. So that's the problem.
When
Correct.
something is happening to me in terms of like कहीं कुछ दुख रहा है, कुछ टूट
Correct.
गया है, or there is, I am not functioning, but people take sleep apnea, I think snoring, कि हाँ ठीक है, मतलब वो sleep में हो रहा है, and the rest, like during the day, whatever they face, they don't realize it that it's happening because of their sleep. It happens because over and over it keeps happening and it sort of builds up. At one point, then suddenly it hits that your body is carrying so much.
Plus, Sneha, no, there's a lot of fad about this depression thing. And I'm not trying to underplay it, don't get me wrong. But a lot of these youngsters are now speaking about mental health and things like that and depression. And everybody takes it for granted that, oh, I'm into depression. I'm having this. You're not realizing the fact that an endogenous depression is again one of the known symptoms of sleep apnea. Like it's one of the known consequences of a untreated sleep apnea.
So are you trying to tell me that sleep apnea can also cause depression?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
It's a known factor. And when the minute you kind of reverse your apnea, you treat it, a lot of these things go away. So there are people who are diabetic, who are hypertensive. They're going to the best of doctors, taking the best of medication, but many a times their BP and their sugar doesn't come under control. Or like, let's say it's a resistant one. That's again a first bell that, okay, there is an underlying cause because of which this is not happening, because your body, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can, the body is deoxygenated. So your cells are not responding to the medication that is being given to you. Your body has to respond, right? So the medical professionals are doing the best. They are doing the right things. They are diagnosing it well. They're giving the right medicine, but your body is not responding. That's the bell. That, okay, there is something underlying which is causing this. And nowadays that is a dictum. Uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled blood pressure, uncontrolled thyroid. First thing we ask for is get yourself checked for sleep apnea.
Okay.
It's a dictum.
Is there a test that you can do for sleep apnea?
Yes, it's the most important and most simplest test to do. It's called a sleep study because obviously this is a sleep disorder. So you've got to test it in sleep. You can't do any kind of test when you're in a
You
awake
just
situation.
have to like keep a record of your.
So there are devices that are attached onto you at night,
Okay.
and that records your entire pattern of sleep. You could either do this in the hospital or you could do it even home based. So most of the home based ones are done for the comfort point of view and as a screening. So if we find that you're more probable to have something, or if there are some other requirements where you need a more detailed examination, then we opt for the ones in the hospital. But by and large, globally, it is accepted that as a screening tool, you can do what is called as a sleep study in your own house
Okay.
at night. It's a very simple thing. It's a non-medicated device. It's a non-electrical device. It's just few sensors that are attached onto your body, and the data is being recorded through the night. It's as simple as that. A very small portable thing which allows you to get up and go to the washroom and all. Hopefully you don't do that because then your sleep is disturbed. But it's a very small, simple, and it's the simplest way to detect it. Simplest way to detect it.
But yeah, it's just so beautiful. I mean, I remember talking to. It just makes so much sense when you talk about oxygen, because when you even do breath work or you do pranayama, how it actually improves your health is because of the oxygen that you take.
Right.
And imagine when you're sleeping for 7 hours, 8 hours, that long of a period, and your body is actually suffering that the lack of oxygen, it is going to affect you.
It is a very scary way. So, we have spoken about the major issues and the more dangerous ones. You will be surprised it affects your, your digestion. It affects your kidneys. Like I said, it affects your libido, your sexual function. So all this is affected also because of sleep apnea. So the dangerous ones, let's say, are, but then gut health is also a very big thing in today's date. Bowel movement is a very big thing in today's date.
So you even say that out of five, if 5 people meet today, one person would definitely have sleep apnea somewhere early.
100%. 100%.
Oh my God, that's like
Yeah, it is scary.
alarming.
It
stuff
is. It
somewhere
is.
or the other.
It is.
Okay.
But the silver lining is it's treatable.
Yeah, I mean,
It's treatable.
this
Simply
idea is that
treatable.
just go to the doctor and get
Exactly.
treated somewhere or
Exactly.
the other.
So it's not as dangerous and life threat. So it's not an acute condition. It's not that
It's reversible, it is manageable.
Yes.
It's just that if done at the right stage.
the right stage.
Okay. And you spoke about like there are devices and also even nowadays like we have these sleep devices like a ring, a sleep, the device that actually tells you how many hours did you sleep and all. Or you also have the Whoop band and you have all these gadgets in your.
Yeah.
So they can also be helpful to actually
They
track
can
your
help
sleep.
you, yes. They can definitely help you screen your patterns. They can definitely give you a lot of idea as to what is, causing a problem and not, depending on position and things like that. So a lot of people are using it. They come up to me also at the clinic with this kind of data, which is good. It gives us good information. But as of today, I'm saying, I don't know what the future holds. The data that we get out of that is not enough for me to base my scientific treatment on. It gives me a lot of information, definitely about their sleep patterns, what's happening. But if I was to base my treatment, I could not rely on this as of today. I will need the sleep study report to base my treatment on. But yes, see, technology is fast progressing, AI is coming into the picture. This kind of data is very helpful for us to analyze a lot of things. A lot of things. There are devices now, you'll be surprised, which are put under your mattress and left there for 15 days, and they're collecting data through the night about your sleep patterns for 15 days. So there's a lot of information that which body position did he sleep in, was he restless at that time, was he not, what was the breathing patterns based on the vibration through the mattress. They actually detect your efforts in breathing and things like that. So there's a lot of technology is really going leaps and bounds, and sleep has become such a big thing in the world. We have international sleep societies, we have societies in different parts of the world, individually in each country, and we have world bodies also of the same. And the one in India was where I was instrumental in.
Well, it's beautiful because you said that the any kind of disease also, like you said, diabetes, hypertension and all, people usually think it's related to food. सबसे ज्यादा पहले आता है कि हाँ शुगर है वो सब तो है ही
है वो तो बिल्कुल है बिल्कुल
but
है
but the one of the cause for your
underlying
head
issues.
not operating at the optimum level is also sleep. So people
Absolutely.
need to sort of monitor their sleep. And as you said, that the awareness, because a simple thing like sleep, like I think it's such a basic thing. It's like how we breathe, how we, people earlier could actually sleep in a second or in a minute because the kind of work that would happen at that time. Also, I think the stress factor that we have today.
That's what I was going to just say. The stress is the key word here.
Yeah, I was just
They
going
could
to
sleep well because they were not that stressful. Today, life has become very stressful.
So
But
stress is going to directly affect your
100%.
sleep for sure. Yeah.
So, one of the ways to, like when you said about the do's and don'ts of sleep. So, one is, like I said, the bedroom supposed to be used only for sleep and sex at the most. But you have to try and avoid all kind of stimulants at least an hour or an hour and a half before you go to sleep. So when I say that, we talk about a very proper optimal environment for sleep.
So
is
create
where
create like a sleep hygiene
absolutely,
before you
absolutely.
before you even like, I think it's like preparing for sleep. Make it like a ritual somewhere or
Yes,
the other.
that has to be done without making it like a very big thing on the pressure on your mind, because then people don't get to sleep.
So what kind of things would you say could a sleep hygiene?
You have to kind of prepare your sleep ambience, right? So if you have to start off with, like I said, you must make sure you sleep at a particular time and wake up at a particular time. But what we normally recommend very strongly are a few points. One, your room should be absolutely dark. It should be dark with no light emitting from anywhere, including a radium clock. There should be no radium clock in your room. Okay, because light from any kind of a situation stimulates your retina in the eye and then stimulates the brain, and then you lose sleep. So that's why it's very strongly recommended that at least an hour to an hour and a half before sleep, switch off all electronic gadgets. No phone, no iPads, no laptops, no TV screens, nothing that emits light. You are allowed to read a little bit in a little yellow light that kind of soothes your whole thing. But you should not have anything, even a mobile should not be right next to you, because let's say you wake up in the middle of the night, the first reflex is to see what is the time. Yeah. And you switch on the mobile, and that light again disrupts everything. Or when you go to the washroom. So that's the logic behind people having those night lamps on the floor, to just let them go to the washroom without switching on the lights, because that light when it hits you disrupts your sleep.
Okay, so have
So
like totally dark rooms.
absolutely, you have those blackout curtains and things like
And
that.
if you don't have, say, like if somebody in the room like nahi ho pa raha hai, so eye mask is something that you could
Yes,
also use.
of course, you can use that. So anything which really gives you that dark thing. Temperature of your room should be very optimal. So people have this tendency of putting their ACs on 18, 19 and then trying to take a blanket and sleep. Your body doesn't adjust to that. Your optimal temperature should be in the range of 24 to 26. That is the way it should be. Whether it's a fan, AC, whatever, depending on what season you are in. That's the optimal temperature. If you have too hot a room, you cannot sleep. If you have too cold a room, you cannot sleep.
Okay.
Right? There shouldn't be music blaring to that effect. I mean, light, soothing music to a certain extent is okay.
You also mentioned yellow lights. I think
Yeah, yellow lights, dim yellow lights
actually
are absolutely fine.
help you.
And as a protocol, you should try to not get your worries to bed. Now, this is not something as an ENT surgeon I need to say. I'm sure a lot of psychologists will talk about this. But you have to try and cut off everything before you come into the room to sleep. And your meal timings. So, whatever your meal is, preferably a light meal at night, it's an age old saying that have dinner like a pauper. Breakfast like a king, lunch like a yeah, and dinner like a pauper. So, light dinners and at least about 2 to 2.5 hours before you hit the bed. So, you don't just have your dinner and go and lie down, because that causes a lot of reflux. It gets the food up, the digestion is still going on. So, preferably all your meals should end. Water intake should end quite earlier, because then you have to otherwise wake up for the washroom. So we tend to say that whatever your daily water requirements are, you try to finish that by 6:37, and post dinner a glass of water or whatever and things like that. Water intake late towards the night. Of course, that doesn't go well when you're partying and people go to parties and they're dehydrated with alcohol and things like that. So all that again disrupts your sleep. Late food, alcohol, the coffee, tea for that matter, anything preferably after 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m. is not a very good idea. That's why the concept of this decafs and all has come in, right? People love to have coffee, but they want to avoid the stimulant part of it. So the green tea has come in, so the nicotine is avoided. All these fads have come in because now people are realizing the importance of sleep. It's very important to understand it is a disorder. That's why it's called a sleep disorder. Once upon a time, people thought it was a lifestyle issue only. It's not. So, even today, unfortunately, in our administration and in legislation, we still have not been able to put sleep apnea as a disorder. It's still considered a bit of a lifestyle issue. We are working very hard on that. Things are changing now. Insurance companies are waking up to it, and legislation is waking up to it, and it's there already abroad. They don't issue, like I said, driving licenses. They don't allow pilots to fly if they're sleep apneics because it's a huge risk. And coming to that pilot part, I don't know if you've if you read into details, the Bhopal gas tragedy, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, sooner or later was proved to be an operator who was sleep deprived. And these are facts. These are facts out there for you to see. It's not like anybody has been incriminated, but those people were sleep deprived.
You just mentioned pilots, so there was we had touched upon this earlier also when you spoke about people who have a night shift because
Yes.
so people who are actually their work demands them to stay up the entire night, or there are some people like artists or the Bollywood actors, they have late night shifts. What can they do?
So this is what we call as professional dangers. This is something that they have to deal with, and they have to try and make up for their sleep during the day if they can. So night shift workers and people who work US based shifts when they are doing IT and stuff like that. Initially, it is very good when they're younger. It's all quite fine, but it takes its toll.
It does.
It does. It takes its toll. You will see these people over years or over a few years. It starts affecting their complete health. Pilots. That's why DGCA and the bodies that regulate all this, they have very strict norms about how long they should be allowed to rest before they take the next flight, and how much of break they should have. That doesn't happen to people in the IT industry, or for that matter, there was a time about a decade back or so when this medical transcription and BPO had taken a big boom. And that's when people were working a lot of night shifts and things like that. It was affecting everything. So, whoever is in that industry needs to understand the importance of sleep, needs to understand the importance of what we call as a circadian rhythm, and then work their way around it. So, circadian rhythm is the main thing that goes for a complete toss when we talk about jet lag. You're totally in different time zones, so you've got to try and adjust to that. You've got to make sure that whatever see, in our country, unfortunately, you can't just write something on a paper and say, okay, this guy needs to change his job. It's not so easy. Sometimes abroad they do that. Governments put them in a different job. Since we are not that kind of a scenario, whoever is into that particular profession needs to give his or her sleep that much importance to compensate for it the next day and make a system whereby they sleep well through the day. By getting all their lights off and not people disturbing you. So, what we do at night, they would have to do during the day.
Yeah, I mean, make a circadian rhythm
Make a
themselves,
complete circadian rhythm.
for themselves, kind of.
Literally, when we have to do sleep study in a night shift person, it has to be done during the day.
Yeah,
This happens when they come back from their shifts and they go to sleep. That's when the sleep study is done for them.
exactly. But there are people who say that, ki I get more active at night. Like I get these ideas, or people who are especially very creative,
Creative people.
creative people. Uh, but you would still recommend that.
We don't recommend that, yeah. But then see, that's a different profession and that's their inbuilt thing. They need to be. But I'm sure most of them, like, let's say even the film scripters, script writers, and things like that, if they're isolating themselves and working through the night, they do land up sleeping the whole of the next day.
Yeah.
They
But
have to.
try to, like, you would say that that's not very natural. If you want to write,
It's not natural, yeah.
It's not
But this is eccentricities, and some people, and it's a known fact in life that creative people are eccentric to a certain extent. To a certain extent,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And they need their space at night. They feel the calm that is needed. They don't like the disturbance, but they must compensate the next day.
Is your longevity and sleep also related?
100%. Again, 100%. Because if your health is not good, you're going to land up in trouble.
So you need to, for a better and a longer life, you make sure your sleep is right.
Sleep is absolutely responsible for so many things that we've never given due importance to. We've given due importance to health related diseases, and we've always treated sleep as, "ठीक है, when I get time." So we compromise on sleep for our life related issues, whether it's travel. You see people traveling through the night so they can save the day to work, and then again traveling through the night and their sleeps are disturbed, things like that, which is, I think, what needs to be really looked into. There are certain things that we can't change, but the awareness, if the person has who's going through all of this, can make a difference to their own lifestyle.
Yeah, because I think that people talk about like getting up early, the 5 a.m. club, but nobody talks about like you need to even sleep on time and you need to get those number of hours
Hours too.
of your sleep. Don't sleep at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock and still get up at 5 o'clock.
So that's a fad, which is not good, because people talk like this and they think it's the in thing and it's like something to be proud of. I slept only 4 hours and I've been working so hard, I've been doing this. I just had coffees and I stayed up. It's a fad. They don't realize the dangers of this fad. So it should be more about, increased productivity because you've had better sleep. Then you're obviously going to be more productive. And the reason why the world over people have woken up to this is also this part of it. The productivity of every person goes down. Huge big companies don't like the absenteeism and the decreased productivity. So if you see, there was a stage where major IT companies or big companies had these kind of sleep pods made in their huge offices. They had all these things to keep their employees well relaxed, as stress free as possible. The whole world is realizing that the productivity goes down. As a result, economy gets affected of the company.
Can I also like make up for my lost sleep? So if I've had a week which is very hectic, you said one day is no harm. Where do you think that the problems will actually start happening? Like how many days of
No, so this,
compromised sleep somewhere or the other?
unfortunately, science doesn't give us a figure like that to say that, okay, these many days will create a problem. But you can make up for your lost sleep, but there's no way you can cover up for the deficiency and the damage that's already been done. If I have to use a term, what we call as oxidative stress, meaning the stress that has happened because of the lack of oxygen at particular time to the cell. That's already happened. You can always try and make up. So let's say you worked very hard. By default, out of the exhaustion, you want to rest for the weekend. You can do all that. You'll rest, but that part of the damage already got done on that day. That's not recoverable. So it's not like a bank where you can refill what you've lost out on. So by and large, but yes, having said that, you have to also understand that the body has been made strong enough, and if you look after your body well, it can withstand a bit of stress. But it can withstand a bit of stress. You can't have that stress going on for a very long time. So I'm not saying a person should not work when they're required to. They have deadlines to meet, they have projects to complete. But at the end of it all, they still need to realize that what price they paid for it should now try to be compensated.
Yeah, and maybe try to compensate it in a even for a longer period of time. Like make sure then you're sleeping right
Exactly.
every day for at least a month or so if you've had a hectic week. Because I think now the stress has increased so much that every other day you're staying up and then you're thinking that weekend ko main cover up kar luga. Again, the next week it's back to the same. So I don't think you're recovering.
And something happens on the weekend, उस दिन भी सोने नहीं.
सोने नहीं मिलता है.
And a classical example of this is jet lag. See, how long does it take you to recover from a jet lag? Ask anybody of those who have traveled transatlantic. It takes 10 days, 12 days, sometimes 15 days. That means your body needs that.
Yeah. So especially I think who are traveling also a lot, they need to be very careful.
Very careful. Especially the night flights and stuff like that.
Exactly. Okay. Coming to sleeping disorders, when we were talking about that, what is your take on sleeping pills? So if I'm not getting sleep on a particular night and I'm actually having a lot of issue with sleep, do you recommend sleeping pills to people?
See, this is definitely not something that should be taken across the counter and on your own. Sleeping pills should be prescribed by a specialist who is trained in that particular manner. It's not something like a chana that you just pick up and you pop it like a peppermint. There are indications for sleeping pills, no doubt, but let your medical professional decide that for you. One occasional pill here and there, if you get your hand on and you used it because of something's happening, is still okay, but not on a regular basis, definitely. And the reason why they have been classified under a certain category of drugs is because they should be used under supervision. Now, these kind of sleeping pills, again, depends on what they are being used for. But if I am to look at it from the point of view of, say, snoring and sleep apnea, we generally don't recommend it because most of these sleeping pills are muscle relaxants. Right? So already your airway is collapsing, and then you're making the muscles become completely lax and they will collapse more. So it's not a good idea at all. But like I said, there are different indications. Maybe there are some neurological issues, there are some psychological issues. They use a lot of that to calm the person down and things like
So
that.
consult before you
Always.
take.
Sleeping pills, no. I mean, you could use things like, magnesium, a
Yeah, that's what I
supplement.
was just coming to. Like, so there is this thing that, you can have magnesium for a good sleep, or
Yes.
apply like magnesium oil on your foot.
Yeah.
Kind of helps you relax and sleep better.
Yeah. So magnesium oil ka to I don't really know, Sneha, that much, but the tablet, yes, it's a supplement, so it does definitely help.
It helps you sleep better, magnesium supplement.
Yeah, it's like a supplementation which makes your muscles also much, less painful to a certain extent.
And can you have it every day?
Magnesium is safe. You can have it every day. There's absolutely no problem. It's an across the counter thing.
Okay.
The same is with things like melatonin also, but that also is best preferred under supervision.
Yeah, because melatonin also, now you get those strips, and you get those, like, people take it like it's like a candy. Like, I mean, वो chocolate जैसे मिलता है.
You even
melatonin.
get sprays which have to be put under your tongue also of melatonin.
Exactly. So, is it safe to actually consume it in this?
Not on a very long term. Again, like I said, under supervision, yes, not across the counter. But people do get hold of it and use it, but not across the counter. I won't recommend that. I would rather you do the kind of sleep hygiene that we've talked about. Have a cup of warm milk. It has something called tryptophan, which kind of helps in sleep.
So
These are
milk,
better ways.
magnesium.
Yeah,
What
these are
other
better ways.
foods can actually, anything else that comes to
No sugary foods. So this is again a very big issue. You go out for dinner, you had a nice dinner, it has to be followed by sweets. And that sugar is a big no for sleep. Sugar in the late evenings. And unfortunately, that's the complete opposite of the kind of scenario that works. We all want to have death by chocolate, you want to have this, you want to have that. That's not good for.
So avoid
sleep.
sugar completely.
Sugar is to be avoided definitely for many other reasons also.
Yeah, but
for
warm
sleep,
milk is something that's
it is very helpful.
green
So,
teas.
green tea is fine because see, that's got no nicotine in it. It's just basically warm water with a good taste to it. So there's no problem with green tea.
Coming to a rapid fire, like what people actually have questions about, maybe if you could tell me.
Karan Johar sign. I'm on the hot seat today.
Okay, tell me, which side should you ideally sleep on, left, right, or straight?
Right.
Right is recommended.
Right is recommended always.
Okay.
Because on the left you will put a little bit pressure on your heart side also. So it's always recommended to be on the right.
Okay, and sleeping straight?
Straight is also good, but if you have an obstruction, that's the worst time when everything is going to fall behind.
Okay.
That's why we say positional on one side.
Okay, it does help.
It does help.
Okay.
There is something called as a positional therapy itself to treatment. So it's quite amusing actually. So some people snore on their back. So what we tend to do is we either use like a tennis ball or something stuffed in a rucksack, and he wears the rucksack and then goes to sleep. So that during his sleep he will never fall back on his back.
I am
The
sleeping
ball
on the back, so
Yeah, it's
not
not
recommended.
recommended if you have that kind of snoring and sleep apnea. So we do this is called positional therapy.
but in general, also sleeping on the back. Or
If
sleeping
you are
on the,
not
no, sleeping on the stomach. Actually, I'm
sleeping on the stomach, absolutely not.
not recommended.
Barring the COVID times that we used to say so, that was different. But sleeping on the stomach is not recommended because it causes a lot of reflux also.
Okay.
All your food just tends to kind of go up again.
Because a lot of people I see that they sleep.
Yeah, that's not recommended.
So not recommended.
Not
at all.
recommended.
Okay. Can oversleeping be as bad as undersleeping?
I don't really think so.
Not really.
No,
So
not
it's
undersleeping is definitely bad.
bad. Okay. Pillow or no pillow?
So the pillow should, it's basically it's about your neck. So if your neck is like this, that's bad for your airway. If your neck is like this, that's bad for your airway. So your neck should be level. So whatever you require, the height of the pillow, that's what is needed. So no double pillow and stuff like that.
No double pillow.
No double pillow, because then that will put your neck in this situation. And if you have a very thin pillow, it will put your neck in this situation. So like one pillow, medium size, keeping your head flat. That's the right way to be.
Okay. Ideal nap duration.
30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes. Any time that you can manage to get in your afternoon or during your work time is very good.
And does
The
that
power
count in
nap.
your sleep?
No, it doesn't, but it kind of really peps you up. It's known. It's proven also to do that.
So it's not bad to take.
It's not bad at all.
Okay. One jet lag hack.
Oh, so the first thing that you should do is whichever country and wherever you land in, try to get into the cycle of that country. So let's say if you've flown through the night and reached in the morning, don't sleep that day. Somehow pull yourself on till night of that country and then sleep at that time. That's one way that you can get into that cycle as early as possible. So it's only the first day that would be very difficult, if at all. You got to pull yourself through.
Okay. One sleep myth you wish everyone would stop believing about sleep.
That snoring is normal or snoring is a sign of good sleep. I think people should just really understand how dangerous snoring can be if untreated. And I always say this, if untreated, because if treated, it's not a problem at all.
One hack that you would suggest if I'm struggling with my sleep on a particular day.
So do everything like we spoke about with regards to sleep hygiene. You can try and get up and have a warm cup of milk. If you are struggling and tossing around in bed for more than, let's say, on an average, say 30 minutes or so, which is based on your judgment, not by looking at the watch, then it's always better to get up, move out of the room, do some reading, get into something, and then come back and sleep. Tossing around in bed for a longer period of time again disturbs your sleep.
What would you say about people who actually sleep with their mouths open?
So the fact that they're sleeping with their mouth open means that they're not able to breathe through the nose. Right? So that means there is a nasal block somewhere. They have to look into that. And the mouth breathing is going to cause a lot of dryness in the morning. Throughout the night, if you're breathing through the mouth, you're going to wake up with an absolute parched mouth. So mouth breathing in itself means somewhere the upper part of that airway has got blocked. That's why you have to open your mouth to breathe. That's definitely something you need to look into it.
Okay, so thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yes,
My pleasure.
I mean, it's been amazing.
Thank you.
And I think my biggest takeaway from this podcast is like every time you don't sleep well, or I think, I'm sleeping late, I'm actually adding so much stress to my body somewhere or the other. So people think that, stressful situations, मतलब इससे मुझे stress हो रहा है, उससे मुझे stress हो रहा है, and maybe I cannot sleep at night. I think even if you're saying that you are not even sleeping at night, you're adding just more burden to that stress. So I think the best way to deal with stress is also like fix your sleep routine and you could deal with outer stress in a better way.
Absolutely. Sleep is very important for that. You are a much more balanced person in the morning when your mind is well rested and relaxed. If you don't have that kind of sleep, your decision making ability is affected, right? And that works for every one of us who are in professions that demand us to be very attentive. Whether it is, like I said, either the pilots or surgeons like me or IT professionals, people dealing with figures which run into millions, and if they are at the receiving end of it.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have good sleep. I think one of the things that you really probably, if at all, need to get across to the general population is that sleep is no longer something to be taken lightly. At the same time, it's not something to stress about, but if you make a formal routine and if you understand how you can sleep properly, get up, and it improves your overall health, your body situations, your mental situations, then you will start giving sleep its due importance. Stress, definitely stress comes in various forms. There's a very interesting way to look at snoring or sleep apnea for that matter. So imagine yourself drowning. Okay. What happens when you drown? You're not getting oxygen. Yes. You're struggling to breathe because you're not getting oxygen. Right. And all that. It's like a bad struggle. And what happens to the body at that time? Whenever you are under this kind of stress, your body starts getting pumped with adrenaline. And all the time we keep generally talking about adrenaline rushes, adrenaline kicks, and stuff like that. Imagine when you are losing that oxygen with every breath that you sleep. Imagine the amount of adrenaline that has been pumped into your body system through that night. It's going to have its effect somewhere, right? On the heart, on so many other things. So it's, if you want to look at it that way, that when you are deprived of oxygen, everything is going to suffer.
When you fix your sleep, you're actually working on so many levels in your body and you're solving so many problems at the same time if you sleep in the right way. I mean, if you can fix your sleep issues or your sleep disorders, taking help at the right time can actually,
Save you from a
save
lot of this. It's like a stitch in time saves nine. It's literally like that. Because this is a silent killer. Sleep disorders are a silent killers. And they affect every system in your body. Every system. We've already enumerated so many, the brain, the heart, the kidneys, the digestion, the sexual functions, the urination. Everything is affected. So it's a killer if you don't look into it. Don't take sleep lightly at all.
at all.
You should take it lightly from the point that you don't want to stress yourself. Oh, am I going to get sleep tonight? Am I going to? No, just go with the flow. But the minute it's happening recurrently, and the minute it's happening for a longer duration, that's a red flag for you to approach somebody for help.
Thank you so much.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Neha. It's absolutely my
Takeaways from this podcast.
I'm
Thank you
glad.
so much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, that was one power packed episode with Dr. Seemab Shaikh, and I want each one of you to go share this episode with your friends, with your family, because I think in India we take snoring very lightly, and sharing this episode could help you save somebody's life literally. Well, I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Till then, keep rising and embracing in love. And do not forget, I roar you.